Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the last workshop of the day. I want to thank you for joining us for the day one virtual session for the DBE Workshop and Networking Summit. If you're attending the Polymer Systems for Bridge Deck Preservation, you are in the right place. My name is Benji Hayek, and I am the construction Group Supervisor for Oneida Engineering Solutions, or OES. And again, I want to welcome you to this workshop. A little bit of housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions, I ask that you either type them in the QA chat, the QA that's located up on the right-hand corner of your screen, or you can just submit it through chat. We have, the presenters have said if you want to ask a question, do it at any time during the presentation and we will answer it right then and there. And then we'll be providing a link to the session evaluation. It's already on there, and I'll put one on at the end again, and ask that you do take a couple of minutes to complete it before going on to the next session or before the conference is over. Now, without further ado, I would like to introduce our presenters for this session. We have Bobby Scarpito and Brent Fitzwater. They will start out here in a couple of seconds. And the last thing here is that about 10 minutes before we're done with the session, I'm going to give the 10-minute signal to make sure we have time to play a video for you. So, Bobby, Brent, take it away.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to a little bit of overview of polymer systems for bridge deck preservation. Again, my name is Bobby Scarpito. A little history of me. I've got about 30 years background in composites and about 10 years background in construction. So it's pretty interesting that I found a material called Polyester Polymer Concrete. And started diving off on that about 10 years ago, and it's worked out really well to learn this industry and learn how to work with DOTs and just further discover the many uses that we can do for that. And we're going to cover a bunch of those today. So, Brent?
Yeah, I'm Brent Fitzwater. I work for Truesdale Corporation. I'm a senior project manager with them. I've been in the industry for 30 to 35 years myself in construction, and we've, over the last 10, 12 years, we've been using this Quickbone Polymers for various applications. And so I'm just here to kind of help out technical wise if somebody has a question as far as applications and things like that. Thank you.
Without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. A little bit about Quickbone Polymers. We've been in business for 39 years now. We do business in approximately 45, maybe 46 states. And then the thing is, we have many successful projects, very few unsuccessful projects, and millions of square feet, and that's an annual number. So when we're here to talk about this, we're telling you from our experience from all over the country. States in the Midwest are just really starting to adopt our materials and starting to use them more and more, and we'll talk about that as we go through this a little bit, but we're going to talk about different materials as well. So, Brent?
Yeah, Truesdale started out very small. They were just a local company in Arizona that did mostly residential work when they started, and over the last several years, we've branched out. We're doing mostly Department of Transportation work or commercial residential type work, and we work from coast to coast. And we've got several employees, and we do several things with our company, but a lot of bridge rehabilitation work is what we are kind of defined in.
I affectionately call Truesdale one of the big three companies that is a traveling road show. It's probably the best way to describe
it. That's about us too.
You guys are everywhere and show up and get work done in a very professional manner. So it's fun to watch. So let's talk a little bit about bridge deck rehabilitation, restoration, any sort of thing like that. This is a motto I came up with several years ago, and it really sort of encompasses what we're talking about. Understanding the problem, isolating the problem, understanding it, and fixing it. Those are things that you always want to do. Understand what the bridge deck wants or needs, and then address it that way. One of the biggest things that happens is you get companies out there that are just trying to sell you 100 gallons of something or 5,000 gallons of something without really understanding the problem. We have a different philosophy at our company, and people like Truesdale are here to do that work. Hopefully that we've moved forward with the DOT or with the designer for that fact. We're going to talk about 3 things today: sealers, overlays, and then patching and repair on a concrete deck, so to speak. As far as sealers go, High Molecular Weight Methacrylate is the product we manufacture. Overlays, we manufacture PPC and a polyester multi-layer, which is similar, very similar in physical properties to the epoxy version. And then for patching, we manufacture PPC as well. It's really the same thing. It's the same materials used for an overlay. And again, we'll dive off on all of these, how they work, what they do, and how they match up with the competitive products. Again, I'm here to talk about our materials a little bit, but also talk about why they may or may not work better than the others. Sealers. You're trying to solve one of 2 problems, right? Either concrete permeability or a cracking issue. There are great materials for concrete permeability, the silanes and thin films. If you're really trying to solve the cracking issue, there's several materials, but one of them is high molecular weight methacrylate. Very typical picture of silane installation. Brent, you want to?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure some of you have seen how xylene is installed, and depending on the day and the temperatures and things like that, a lot of times when you're going down the deck, you turn around and it's already dry behind you, because it just doesn't really, it's more like a wax almost that you're putting on trying to seal the deck. It doesn't really penetrate the way you would like it. We've done several projects like this, but it's not something that we would, if you're trying to fix a problem like that, I wouldn't recommend a permanent, cracking problem. This would not be what I would use, obviously.
Does silane provide any sort of barrier protection from chlorides or anything like that?
A little.
Okay.
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
I mean, it'll kind of keep your deck from getting some of that deterioration from that. And that's about mainly what it's for.
What's the use life of this? How often do they apply this?
It's usually about every 3 to 5 years, because of depending on the traffic flow and things like that.
Sure. Okay.
This is methacrylate installation right here, actually, that we did in Wisconsin over on 41 just this last year. That's our crew applying it there, and it's a very straightforward process, but it's definitely helps your bridge deck, right, as far as holding it and filling the cracks and helping hold it together.
Exactly. Rebounds the deck and actually can re-strengthen it at the same time.
Mm-hmm. This is same bridge installation that we were doing. So
just for everybody's information, this was adopted just recently by Wisconsin DOT. They've done several trials with me over the last couple of years, and this is the first of what appears to be many more bridges.
Yes, we got a lot more coming up here recently, but we've done this in California for years. Yeah. I mean, it's a proven product.
Yeah. Same with Minnesota.
We've also done it on the East Coast as well, North Carolina, and places. So yeah.
Right. One of the things we talk about is which sealers work best. I won't go through the slide completely, but for preservation, you have certain materials that you would use. For crack rehabilitation, there's another material. And then for rehabilitation, again, there are different types of materials that can be used. Probably the best practice in any and all of these, I'll leave this up for just a second. The best practice in any of all of these is surface preparation before you apply this material.
That's the key. Yeah. If you don't prepare it correctly and clean it the way it should be, you're kind of wasting your time.
Right.
You're not giving the product time or the ability to do what it's supposed to do.
Saturation, things like that.
Correct.
Right. Very good.
Guys, if I could please just jump in. I got a couple of remarks saying they could only see the sealer slides, and then you were talking about the actual projects, and they're saying, should there be job pictures? So if someone, I'm seeing them move forward, but if someone else who's in our audience could let me know if there's an issue with the slides advancing, I would appreciate it.
Okay. Should we continue to move forward at this point?
Yeah, just
Okay.
continue. Maybe Mary, if you could just let me know if you see them advancing. Right now it says sealers -uses. So keep
Okay.
going and then
Very
hopefully
good.
they'll respond.
Okay.
So again, best practices for sealers. Again, addressing the issue, fixing the problem. If you've got a cracked deck, a silane treatment isn't going to do you any bit of good. And really what we're trying to do is preserve the service life of the deck so that you get as many years as you've programmed into it out of it.
Yeah.
And then one of the things that I preach all the time, even on brand new decks, states like Minnesota now are just using high molecular weight methacrylate as that, instead of silane, putting that right on the deck within the first, I'll give it this, it's probably more 6 months than it is 30 days because we have a long winter in Minnesota. So
Right.
there is that. But the option to use high molecular weight methacrylate as a programmed material for every 7 to 10 years will give you that much more, because it's impervious to salts and chlorides and things like that. It'll give you your deck that much longer of a life.
Yeah.
So,
and the sooner you do it after the reconstruction, the better off you are.
Exactly. Agreed.
Obviously.
Even if it's just silane to start,
Yeah.
do
Anything.
something.
Yeah.
A little bit of a bonus advice here to maintaining, preserve MBI deck ratings. There are a certain amount of things you're going to do, and then rehabilitation will upgrade that MBI deck rating. Again, if you're looking for a low cost, inexpensive way, Healer Sealer or HMWM or meth or methacrylate, whatever you want to call it, costs about $2 a square foot to install, and gives you that rehabilitation at the same time. So a couple quick pictures on cracking. So this is a bare deck, shows a crack very well. This is once it's been shot blast, how well that crack is now opened up, and will accept sealer on a, just like this. So this is an application of high molecular weight methacrylate before the sand has been applied. But you can see that it's filled that crack entirely, and there's a little bit of pooling right inside the crack. So this is what you get out of high molecular weight methacrylate, or a polymer, if you will. And then this is a very telling slide. I love this. So several years ago, Caltrans did a study. They actually commissioned 3 decks to be done with HMWM. They went ahead and shot blasted the deck, followed all the manufacturer's instructions. And if you look at this picture, then they went back and cored the deck after about 30 days after the work was done. If you look at this picture, this is the core, the 4-inch core that was cut. On the left-hand side, if you see you'll see the brownish color there. And then as you see, it's hard for me to point at this, but as you see the crack running down the center of that core, the lighter or whiter areas show the penetration of Healer Sealer in this. And as you can see, this is I don't know how long this core was. I believe it was 6 inches, but you can see that material has penetrated about 60% of the core.
Yeah, pretty close. Yes.
So very unique in that, because it's a water-like substance, it will penetrate all the way down and fill in all those cracks. It was a selling point to Caltrans when they learned how well this stuff worked.
Yeah.
And again,
why they do it a lot.
I
mean, they do it a lot of it in California now.
Only one state does more. Do you want to guess which one it is?
I don't know.
Minnesota.
I figured.
So, guys, I'm going to stop you there for a second. Hey, right. Noel, can you jump in? They're saying that there are no pictures, no job pictures, and there are several people who are not seeing the presentation.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it. So So I've got 3 people who are saying so far that they could see the best practices slides and that they had a refresh.
Huh.
So, Noel. Well, I guess keep going and then hopefully the video will work. I know a lot of this is reflected in the video.
Sure.
Can you, somebody please just let me know if you can actually see the slides and some of the information on the slides? I don't see the pictures.
Yeah, I mean,
Are you seeing the pictures, Benji?
I am, but I'm on your side of the broadcast. So.
Got it.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Well, we'll keep walking through. Is there a chance that
Okay.
somebody from technical could?
Yeah, I'm emailing them right now. So just keep going.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Okay.
Very good. So, any questions by chance, Benji?
No, I'm not. Aside from we can't see the pictures.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, sorry about that to
Yeah.
the 3 people. If you want to stop by my booth tomorrow, I'll go over the entire thing with
Absolutely.
you individually.
Absolutely.
So, wearing surface. There are several ways or several different polymer type overlays that work as a wearing surface. Multi-layer, thin polymer overlay, epoxy overlay. I think there's 50 different names for it in 50 different states.
Yeah.
Slurry overlay is also can be polymer based. And then what we call PPC, in this slide, I've affectionately named it premixed polymer or polyester polymer concrete. So there are different types of polymer based overlays. We're going to talk about each one of them. Other overlays, asphalt, used in a lot of Midwestern states because it's very inexpensive. Sometimes they use a membrane in between there and the structure itself. Modified concrete overlays, LMC, Iowa low slump.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of any others.
That's all I mean, yeah, there's all kinds of overlays that are out there.
And then integral concrete. I mean, everybody knows the names. I don't think I have to run through all of them, but kind of gives you a very good idea. So let's talk about polymer overlays. Multi-layer, thin polymer overlay. Again, typically epoxy based. At Quickbone Polymers, we've been making a polyester version of that for the last 20 years. It has gained in popularity now. If anybody has epoxy overlays and they can't find a supplier to supply them at a not ridiculous price, even you guys I think are suffering from that.
Yes, we are.
We do have a polyester version that is lower cost and readily available. Slurries come in MMAs, epoxies, polyesters,
urethane. There's epoxy urethane.
There's an epoxy urethane. Yeah. You're right. And then again, premixed polymer overlay or polyester polymer concrete. This is a lot of what Truesdale is doing throughout the country now. And we've done a fair amount in this state. And again, I'll talk about that here in a little bit. The overlay, what does it do? Provides wear resistance or gives you that wearing surface that you can then track without having to worry about the rest of the structure. Some bridge deck overlays provide a protective barrier. Epoxies will for a given period of time. Polyester polymer concrete is probably one of the best that does that because of its bond to the substrate, and you are removing the opportunity for chlorides and or any water to permeate it. It really does become that protective barrier.
Yeah. The reason it's better is because you have the penetrating sealer that goes down in the substrate and locks it all together.
Correct.
Yeah, I get it.
So, multi-layer thin polymer overlays. What is it? Pretty simple. It's 2 courses of a resin and aggregate. A lot of people ask, why do they add the second course? Oftentimes it's used to ensure that the first layer doesn't have any holes in it.
Correct. That's correct.
And to gain thickness.
That's correct.
That's really
all there is about it. The only reason for it.
Yeah. I'll let you talk about this one.
Yeah, this is basically an example of where they're mixing it by hand. Of course, we use semi-automated automated trucks to apply our overlays anymore. This is okay to do this way for small areas and things. but it's just the system that we have obviously takes the no guess about mixing and make sure it gets mixing properly and you get it on the deck correctly. We still squeegee it out, obviously, behind, but our aggregate's not thrown on as much. We blow as much on it as we can, then finish off with a hand application on the edges and stuff next to vehicles and running traffic and things like that.
This would appear to be a much smaller bridge deck. In fact,
It's, yeah, you can tell it's small.
Looks like it's in Reno, actually.
Is that right?
Yeah. Now that I see the pictures in the background.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of a close-up picture of what it looks like after it's been swept.
Mm-hmm.
You really get that aggregate surface that becomes your wearing course for hopefully the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, and you're getting some skid resistance also on the bridges as well.
Correct.
Which helps.
Yep. And that's what.
I just said.
There we go.
There it is.
We provide a protective layer, or it provides a protective layer, and then it also provides some skid resistance. I affectionately call multi-layers or thin polymer overlays, or HFST, high friction surface treatment, as sandpaper for the road.
Correct. That's basically what it is.
Hey, you guys.
Yeah.
Excuse me. It appears that you are stuck on the sealers slide. Can you close it out and start it over?
The which slide?
It says that you're on the sealers slide. So can you maybe close it out and bring it back up again?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
So let me see here. Skip. Sealers. Start right there.
Mm-hmm.
How do we do this slideshow?
Yep.
Is that better?
I'm gonna have somebody let me know if it works. Advance it to the next slide so we know if it's advancing.
I just moved to overlays.
Okay.
And then-
Does anyone please let me know if you see overlays? Well, no one's letting me know what they see. So just keep advance up to where you were.
Sure.
Thank you.
Multi-layer TPO. Sorry, I'm catching up in my head. So what are multi-layer thin polymer overlays good for? Where do you use it? And this comes from AASHTO's guide.
Mm-hmm.
Best suited for decks in good condition with very few surface imperfections.
Correct.
Newer decks, great shape, good shape.
Yeah.
So condition 6 or 7.
And a lot of states are doing that.
Right. So polyester polymer concrete. What is it? Resin, rock, and sand is probably the best way to term it. We don't use any cementitious materials. Water is basically my kryptonite. We don't cure with water. All of the aggregates are shipped in Truesdale's case, in super sacks.
Correct. 4,000-pound bags.
4,000-pound bags. The totes are shipped in, or resin is shipped in tankers, and then applied. We'll talk about that in just a second. So what's the features and benefits to a polyester polymer concrete, or a polymer-based material that's 3/4 of an inch thick, impermeable to moisture and chlorides? We do use the methacrylate to heal, seal, and fill the cracks. The nice thing about the polymer material is you have a 2-hour return to traffic, and that's in basically any temperature. We'll talk about that from a repair side. Most DOTs, in fact, Wisconsin DOT does specify that the temperature is no less than 40 degrees when we're applying in a deck application, and no more than 100 degrees. Every state varies on that.
Yeah.
30-year service life. I know the company's been in business for 39 years. The interesting thing is Caltrans is where we started. The first bridge deck was applied in 1983. That bridge deck is still in existence today, but Caltrans stopped giving us a rating after 30 years. So that's kind of where the calendar or the clock is stuck.
Yeah.
At this point, but
it's a very tough product. I mean,
is.
we just got done placing in Texas on a project. Our spec there was 40 degrees bridge deck plus 40 degrees air temperature ambient there, and we were placing it in 40, 42, and
Sure.
we were having no trouble with it cooking off and curing off in time. And So it's definitely a very durable product. This is a project that we did in Nebraska, in Lancaster County. It's on I-80 where we were doing this. You can see where we're actually working the shoulder in right now is what our crew's doing on there. And we screed that off with a Bobcat screed that we've developed to use that, and it works very well. And very good project, and everything turned out really nice, and we haven't had any problems. Everybody's been very happy with it.
Can you allude a little bit to what we talked about, the grade correction we did on this one?
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Yes, we actually had to go from 1 to 4, and then back down to 1 again on this with our grade correction from the road in. It really turned out very nice. What we had to do with it, and it's very. You can use this product for that kind of application if you have a problem. You know, you can use it to correct a lot of those grade problems that you have on bridges.
So this material can be mixed and applied up to 12 inches in a single pour. And like these guys did, they just adjusted the paver height to run the grade right into the deck. So
yeah, we just came off that Texas project that had grade corrections on that, and some of the places where we were pouring on that was 6 inches deep.
Wow, it's a lot.
It was crazy.
Yeah, a lot of material.
Yes.
Here's another bridge deck. This one's in North Carolina, one of the ones I worked on. Interestingly enough, they have North Carolina has probably the most strict ride requirements out of any state.
Yes,
so,
they do.
And again, the Truesdale guys working here, you can see the back of the paver, and just in front of that is the volumetric mix truck specifically designed for PPC. And I lost count. I think you guys own 20 of those trucks.
Yeah, we got like 25 now. Yep.
Somewhere in that range.
You're talking about the ride. A lot of the specs for the states now are a 10-foot straight edge with an 1/8 inch tolerance now.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
And we're getting just perfect within there. No problems.
So what does polymer concrete give you? I think we've talked about all this a little bit. The adhesion, last slide or last note on this slide, is really important. One of the things that is written into the specification is that we do I can't even remember the name of the test now, ASTM 1583 pull test, where we ensure that the material is bonded. If you look closely at this picture, you'll see about 3/4 inch of PPC and then about 1/4 inch of concrete. And what we say is that we always win this tug of war. It's very rare that there's failure. And if there is, oftentimes the DOT makes us correct it or makes the contractor correct it. But very rarely does anything happen. Here's another great slide. This is ultra high performance concrete, and PPC was placed over the top of it. And you can see the steel fiber sticking out of this. The substrate failed before we did.
Yeah. It never had one that didn't.
Neither have I. And I've
knock on wood
jokingly bet my paycheck on it and threatened to jump off a bridge if we did fail.
Yep.
Little did they know I was just going to walk to the end and jump into the dirt. Some of the other unique features about PPC is that can be tined right from the back of the machine as the process is moving along at about 6 to 10 feet per minute. By the way, the question comes up pretty often. What's the cost of PPC 3/4 inch installed? That cost varies somewhere between $8 and $12 a square foot. And again, depending upon the volume and size of the bridge. So I'll show you an example of $8 a square foot at the end of this in my case studies. This material can also be mechanically tined, although there's not many guys that run those saws that like us very much.
They don't like doing it
because
it really eats up their equipment.
It tears up diamond blades on a regular basis.
Yep.
But the slurry is disposable, just like any other slurry. Once the material is gelled and cured, it is inert and can be disposed of the same way any other slurry is. So we've talked about all this, having good surface preparation, making sure that you're operating within the temperature window of the specification. We are we as a manufacturer talk about that a lot. And I don't care if it's my material or somebody else's. Make sure that you're doing things properly and following the manufacturer specifications. It can only benefit the life of the overlay and the bridge that it's trying to protect. This is what the bridge deck should look like. Shot blasting is important to this. Having a good open porous cement for the healer sealer to dive into, and then for the PPC to lay on top is always very helpful. Any questions at this point? I'll stop for just a second. Benji, everybody's good?
Yeah, I don't see any questions. I'm hoping that the slide advancing issue has resolved.
Sure.
There's that one on here that said it did advanced, so I'm hoping
Good.
that it is. But
Okay.
I don't see any questions in the chat room.
Well, apparently we're doing our job.
Yeah, yeah. So we got about a little less than a half hour less, about 20 minutes.
Very good.
So,
Well, we're gonna dive off on patching and repair. So everybody knows this. There's all types of patching and repair materials. Every DOT has multiple lists of vendors on there, whether it be cold patching, cementitious patches, elastomerics like Wobblecrete, things like that. And now states are starting to adopt our material, PPC, Polyester Polymer Concrete, and there's several versions of that out there. Other people are starting to compete with us as well, both in the polyester side and in the epoxy side. This is a funny picture. I just love this. I was called out, and they asked me what they should do with the deck, and my best recommendation was a couple sticks of dynamite. So we actually did go through and cut out all the cold patch spots in here, fixed them with PPC, and then placed an overlay on this bridge deck, much to my disliking.
Yeah.
This is in Sheridan, Wyoming, by the way. In case anybody's been out there, it's a small bridge right behind the First Interstate Bank. It's hard to miss, but it looks a lot better today. I love this picture. This is a very typical picture. You can see that this bridge deck has been patched in many ways over time. You can see there's a cementitious patch behind it. There's some cold patch in the hole in front of it. I liken it to say that all you're really doing when you pour asphalt in there or cold patches, just throwing the sponge into the hole.
Yeah,
and
that's exactly right.
Creating a bigger problem. What we offer is a more near permanent solution is probably the better way to describe what we do. This is a picture of my friends in Indiana. This is INDOT's maintenance crews. They almost exclusively buy this material for use. As you can see, there's about 15 or 18 holes open. On any given night, they open up somewhere around 50 holes. Because of that 2-hour cure time, they know that they can get them all done and return this back to traffic at 5 a.m. The other thing I'd like to note is there's a lot of other cementitious patches in there already, stuff that they used in the past. Some of that is delaminated out or is delaminating and coming out. They simply are just doing the best they can to keep their roadways open. And another interesting note to show in these pictures is there's not rebar exposed. If the rebar isn't exposed, our philosophy with polyester polymer concrete is all you have to do is remove the bad concrete. The primer will do the rest, so you don't have to go in underneath rebar, which improves your time and efficiencies for your repair crews or your repair contractor, whichever one it may be.
Plus, it's not going to do any more damage to the bridge itself by vibration around the bars and that kind of thing.
Excellent point. Very good point. This was done not too far from here on 43. You can see we're actually dumping material out of a mix truck. This is a very simple header. If you look at the picture on the left, what is on the left-hand side of that roadway is PPC. You have standard asphalt on the right-hand side. This isn't the best recommendation for what to do, but we are attaching to concrete below it and on the left-hand side. That asphalt will start to give out long before the PPC will that we put in as a patch. But if you're looking at doing headers or patching and repair, the standard material mostly has been Wobblecrete or some sort of elastomeric. this material offers you some of those actually better advantages. Plus, it's impervious, and it's a near permanent solution at the same time.
Yeah, I've done this personally, and we've done this. We're starting to do it a lot. We did it in Nebraska. I mean, actually, in Texas, when we were down there, they were asking me some questions about it, and I asked them. I said, "Well, this would be a better solution for your situation because they've got the wabo with the joint, on each side, and then they've got the joint or the expansion joint in the center." I said, "Just take all this out and then put the PPC in." I said, "You're going to get definitely a lot better product for your header to hold your joint in place." And people are really starting to come around to it now.
I would also say that this day was utilized to train I believe it's Milwaukee County on this material. So you may recognize some people in the picture on the right. They were there for training. And then later on that day, they went out and did some work on their own. I had a contractor here in town who was doing a bridge deck overlay. We utilized one of their trucks to pour this header material. But the county is expressing interest in training to do work for the DOT. So just a little bit of a side note.
Right. Yeah.
Okay,
Nebraska.
guys, I have a question.
Okay.
That came up. It says, has there been testing to evaluate the response of your PPC to elevated temperatures, such as from a vehicle fire?
Yeah, so I can answer that. Under elevated temperatures, such as a vehicle fire, we are just like most other materials. There will be burn marks. In fact, this case study picture that you're looking at now, one of the things we did was go out and fix a spot on one of these bridges that had a vehicle fire on it. Very simply, it was an easy fix because it was just the top surface that was sort of burned away. In fact, there was a huge vehicle fire on this during construction of the bridge. I'm sure a lot of people are aware of that, where that section was cut out and replaced. But a truck sat there and burned with 2 totes of methacrylate on it for about 2 hours.
Oh my.
So it was a terrible vehicle fire. Nobody's hurt, nobody's killed, luckily. But there was a small vehicle fire just right where that semi is that you can see in the foreground of the picture. We went in and repaired that area just simply by scarifying the area, doing a flood coat with healer sealer, and then a resin coat in the top coat. So yes, we are aware of how this material performs under vehicle fires, and it's not good like most other materials. With that being said, I've got a quick video. For those of you who don't know what this is what we consider the crown jewel of the Midwest for us. You will notice that everything is sort of tan or sandy in color that's on these bridge decks. And at the transitions, you will see where it turns into gray concrete. This is over 1 million square feet of PPC at 3/4 of an inch applied in 2019 and 2020 by another contractor, not Truesdale. And this has been, again, just a shining crown jewel for us in the Midwest. So I'll go ahead and push play on this. See the transitions out there.
Yeah.
So, Bobby,
Yes.
for those of our that are attending and in our audience that don't really know what that is, do you want to tell them what that was?
That's the Marquette Interchange in downtown
Yeah.
Milwaukee. 13 or 14 superstructures, all done with PPC at 3/4 of an inch in 2019 and 2020. It took us 2 seasons to complete the work. But from what everything I understand, the latest bridge survey is everything is still at, I believe it's condition 7, which is the best rating for Wisconsin DOT, and all the structures are dry underneath. Everything is working better than they expected, is what I was told.
Good. Some nice aerials on that.
Thank
What
you.
else have you got?
I'm sorry.
Or did you have? I guess I have. I really wish if people have some questions, go ahead and ask. But excuse me, when I guess I'll ask a question here. For instance, on the Marquette, this is a huge undertaking. Took over 2 years to do it, get it done. How much in advance from a supplier perspective, be it you or any of the other suppliers that have comparable materials, for a project of this size and that quantity, how much in advance would a supplier need to know that something like this is being spec'd out and coming down the pike, be it in Wisconsin or anywhere else in the US that the work's being performed?
So the nice thing about what we do, especially for projects like this, is we work very closely with the DOT, whether it be in the state of Wisconsin or any other. I can tell you I'm aware of projects that are letting in 2023 in several states already, so that we can be prepared not only to help them make sure that spec is everything that they want, to make sure that they get the jobs bid correctly, but then also it helps me from a planning standpoint, right? We are manufacturing right now 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in our quarries and in our resin facilities, making material for everything coming this year. This one we knew about a year in advance, and we started planning for it about 3 months in advance. So hopefully that answers the question, but we're on top of it. We're quickly, we work very closely with people like Truesdale to make sure that they put their orders in so that we can start building the material with plenty of advance notice. There is a lot of things going on in this crazy world right now with epoxy shortages. If somebody wants all the detail, I can go into that further, but it really has to do with one base resin that is just in short supply, and that because it's in short supply, the price is also going up at the same time. We are not experiencing that right now on the polyester side. Again, we control our own reactors, we control our own chemical purchasing, and we saw a lot of this coming. So we have not missed a beat, nor did we raise our prices in 2021. And we only had a slight increase in 2022 of less than 5%. So we really are trying to stay focused on the market and trying to grow our business and do that through loyalty and obviously by case studies and things like this.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think is the best approach for using these types of products as innovative projects? How many projects have you guys done in Wisconsin? What, not necessarily, the two of you, but these types of products that are being used. And is this something that is going to be like the wave of the future to help retard full reconstructs?
I think it's pretty interesting. We have done a lot of work, first of all, on the Marquette, obviously. There are several supporting highways all around that, 390, 43,
94,
94. I think it's 394. We've done a lot of work with several contractors here in this state. I think this state really recognizes what it is and how well it works. The nice thing about it is You don't have to be a Truesdale to install this material. Even the smallest of contractors, if it's a small workhorse bridge, we can teach them how to do that. That's very easily done. So you don't need volumetric mix trucks and pavers and all the rest of it. This can be mixed in place on a short workhorse bridge with mortar mixers and screeds.
That's how we started.
That's how you guys started.
We started out that way. Yeah.
I have several contractors, I believe, who are in the audience, who will be attending tomorrow, all of which who have gone through the training with me. By the way, I'm also the tech rep. So not only do I do this and come out and do presentations, I'm that guy standing on the bridge deck when the paver's running down the road or the mortar mixers are spinning, right?
Or helping us throw sand or whatever.
Whatever it takes, yeah. I affectionately say I learned how to drive a paver on this job because I had nothing else to do. So there's that. But yeah, so material supply is readily available. We technically work with contractors, both big and small, to teach them how to do healer sealer work or thin polymer overlays, any of that. All of the contractors buy direct from us, including Truesdale. We have no distributors, and we are our own tech reps.
Okay. So if a design engineer or a smaller company wanted to get more information, and the design engineer talk about specs, look at what kind of products that are out there, or again, a smaller company wanted to reach out with you. You said you're going to have an exhibit table tomorrow, and you'll have that information available. Okay.
Yep. And we're going to do a small demo tomorrow morning. I've got material sitting in my truck. It'll be whatever ambient temperature the outside of my truck is, and we're actually going to mix and place that into some small plastic containers tomorrow. So if somebody wants to see this working in 26-degree temperature, we'll show them how to do that. I did miss that point, by the way. In patching and repair, this material can be used anywhere from minus 32 to well over 100 degrees. I've actually done it in minus 32. I'll love to tell the story. I don't know how much time I have, but anyway.
10 minutes.
Okay. So minus 32, I got called in to a small cold storage facility, U.S. cold storage. They're not very small, down in Nebraska. Brought some material in. The guy says, we're going to work in the refrigerator. I said, what's the refrigerator temperature? He said, it's 1 degree. I said, well, then you have to humor me. What's the freezer? And he said, minus 32. I said, let's go work in the freezer. So we actually did some patching. They were driving on it with forklifts loaded with pallets of food in 2 hours. So this material, again, no water is the only thing, but the temperature doesn't matter because we're working off a chemical reaction.
I've personally placed it in 32 degrees before.
Yeah.
And they were driving on it in 2.5 hours.
Yep. So.
All right. Well, I'm hoping that once we restarted the slideshow that you guys were able to see it, and I'm sure he'll be playing it maybe on a loop tomorrow. If you have some questions, you can stop by his exhibit. We do have some time left. We got about 10 minutes, a little more than 10 minutes left. If there's any questions, we really would love to hear from the audience. You can go ahead and put those in chat or in the Q&A.
Let me see here. I don't want to get there yet. I guess I can. Oh,
wrong one.
Okay. A couple of other ideas here. Polymer overlay, best practices. I know we've talked about this a little bit, but make sure the deck is shot blasted well. Diamond grind if you're trying to improve the ride profile before you put any polymer on there. The polymer is just going to mimic whatever's below it or beneath it.
Correct.
So,
yep.
Something else to consider. Another thought for the group. There's a point where the deck may need to be hydrodemoed and a complete new overlay put on it. If you know you're going to get through your deck, or that there's just a whole lot of repairs that need to be done, it may be good to go to the more expensive route of hydro demo and a low slump concrete of some sorts. But again, we all know what the costs of that are. It's one of the reasons that it was never a consideration for the Marquette, as they knew that they just didn't want to spend that kind of money.
Mm-hmm.
And they also didn't need that much repair yet, right? The bridge decks were in good condition. They were just really trying to preserve them. So here's another question we get oftentimes. That's kind of why I put it at the end here. If there's just not enough sound concrete, you probably need a new entire deck. And we've come in with polyester polymer concrete after hydro demo work has been done, and you do a first layer essentially, and then come back and do a paver pass as a wearing surface. It can be done. We have a tendency to be a little bit more expensive than, $4 a foot concrete.
It's usually it's not cost effective.
Yeah.
Usually
It's not cost effective usually, but some states do specify that because they're looking for polyester polymer concrete in the end.
Correct.
So
yeah.
Another statement: you can't make good out of bad concrete. There's just no way around it. So again, look at the condition ratings, understand the problem. Like I said in the beginning, isolate it and fix it. Isolate the problem, understand it, fix it. This all goes back. Understand what the deck wants or needs, or the bridge wants or needs, and it'll do everybody so much better. Any other questions?
Well, I am not seeing any questions right now. So we have a little over 5 minutes, about 7 minutes in this session. But what I'd like to do is thank everybody for participating, and we would really like to have you fill out the survey before you leave today. Sorry about whatever technical difficulties we're having, but like I said, I'm sure Bobby will be running this at his exhibit booth. So if you wanted to stop by and ask, the teaser of the hands-on demonstration for tomorrow is he's going to be doing some stuff in the morning, creating the product outside, and then showing what it actually did right after lunch, just before just as we start this afternoon session. So that should be interesting.
Yep.
Okay, so we do have a question. Is this a product for any type of overlay?
Yes. The top line answer is yes. Again, make sure your structure's in good shape. Make sure that, PPC isn't going to fix the structure. PPC will become the wearing course and preserve everything that's underneath it. But you got to make sure you have to make sure that the deck below it is in good shape. Otherwise, we aren't going to solve all the problems.
Yeah, you don't want to put it on anything that's delaminating, but no matter what,
right.
Because it's not going to do you any good.
Right. By the way, the other question that comes up often, this material weighs about the same as regular concrete. It's slightly lighter. So if you're considering dead load, the designers are considering dead load, we're essentially the same. But feel free to reach out to me. I can send you all the technical data on this material, or any of the others for that matter, whether it be methacrylate or the polyester version of epoxies.
Okay, we still have a couple more minutes left if anyone has a question. And then in the interim, I do want to remind everyone that we are having our in-person session tomorrow as our day 2 of the conference. We have a great day planned out, complete with a technology session in the morning, right around breakfast. Then we'll have our networking with contractors, consultants at 9:45 to 10:45. obviously in their separate rooms. And then we have networking with WisDOT and networking with Trans from 11 to 12. And then in the afternoon, we have the follow-up demonstration, the hands-on demonstration to what we heard about this innovative product, along with some great information and what projects are coming down or coming up over the next year or two for the majority of all the regions, along with MMSD and a few others where that have been invited to share what projects their project outlooks are. So we hope to see everyone there. We're excited to be able to meet in person this year since, you know, the last year we weren't able to. And I absolutely want to thank Bobby and Brent for giving us this presentation on these products. I was fortunate enough to work with both of them this past year. And again, I've been in this business for so long that nothing excites me. And in the middle of the night, I'm standing on Highway 20 going, what is this stuff? And oh my God, this is so cool. So when I found out that it's being used and that the Marquette had products that were innovative, that are giving it longer life with less maintenance, I thought this is something we got to start talking about a little bit more and get a little more understanding. So thank you to both of you for presenting this to us. And unless we have any other questions, I do again remind you to please fill out the survey, and we look forward to seeing everybody tomorrow. And I'll keep the meeting open for a minute or so longer. Otherwise, have a wonderful evening. And again, we look forward to seeing you. Bobby, Brad, do you have anything else to say?
Yep. See you all tomorrow.
Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you today.